We're jumping straight into Stephen King's latest, the novel Never Flinch.
And specifically, we're really going to focus on its core character, Holly Gibney.
Yeah, exactly. And the material we're digging into today is from an analysis you share called Never Flinch, Holly Gibney's Unwavering Resolve. So our goal here is basically to unpack what that analysis tells us about the book. You know, how it explores things like transformation, fear, resolve.
And how King uses Holly's whole journey to maybe push the detective genre a bit.
Right. Think of this as your quick guide. We're pulling out the key insights from that analysis for you.
Getting right to the heart of it.
Okay, so let's start with the setup. The analysis paints this picture of Holly, right? She's now a pretty seasoned investigator.
Yeah, not the same Holly we first met. And she's tackling two really disturbing cases. At first, they seem totally separate.
Right, so the first one, the analysis lays out this anonymous letter. It shows up in Buckeye City.
And it's seriously creepy. It threatens to kill 13 innocents and 1 guilty.
Right.
Very specific.
And the analysis connects that threat back to this feeling of injustice about a guy who died in prison.
Exactly. And the source really emphasizes that the local cops, they're hitting a wall.
They're stuck.
Yeah. So Detective Izzy Janes reaches out to Holly, wants her intuition, her, let's say, less conventional approach.
Because standard methods aren't working. Okay, then there's case number 2 the analysis gets into.
This was different.
Yeah.
Holly gets hired for protection.
Okay.
She's guarding Kate McKay, who's this well-known feminist author and activist.
Right, and McKay's getting threats.
Escalating ones, yeah. While she's on this big national lecture tour. The analysis suggests, you know, at first glance, it looks like maybe a fringe religious zealot is behind it.
Oh, but it's not that simple.
No. The source says the lines get really blurry between, like, pure ideology and something much more personal, like a vendetta.
So you've got this potential mass-killing threat tied to an old grievance, and then this very public figure facing specific danger tied to, like, social divides. Seems like different worlds.
But here's where the analysis says it gets really compelling. These two cases, they don't stay separate.
Ah, the convergence.
Exactly. They unexpectedly merge, and the analysis highlights this as being super central to the story.
And the source suggests the real tension isn't just, you know, the physical danger, though that's definitely there.
Right. It's more the psychological weight on Holly.
Okay.
She has to unravel these two stories, and they're both just packed with pain and contradictions and stuff hidden below the surface.
Absolutely. The analysis really makes the point that it's not just about catching the bad guys. It forces Holly to confront these really messy intersections of justice, belief, and mental instability.
It's heavy stuff.
Yeah. So let's shift a bit from the plot to Holly herself. The analysis really puts her evolution front and center, calls it the emotional core of the novel.
And it reminds us, you know, we first met her way back in Mr. Mercedes.
Right. And back then, the description was like socially anxious, maybe fragile, super brilliant, but finding the world hard.
Definitely. But the Holly in Never Flinch, according to this analysis, she's matured. She's become this, well, formidable detective.
Formidable, yeah. The source stresses she doesn't second-guess her instincts anymore.
She's resilient. And the analysis is careful. That doesn't mean fearless. There's a difference.
That's a key distinction. And King's portrayal, the source says, is really compassionate, really honest.
Yeah, she's still recognizably Holly. Still neurodivergent in how she thinks, still carrying losses from her past. But she's navigating it all with this new grace and clarity. Her intuition is called her greatest weapon in the analysis.
But it also argues that her empathy, her moral compass, those are what truly define her.
Yes, and this is where the source draws that contrast with the classic, you know, hard-boiled male detective.
Archetype.
Her strength isn't that loud, obvious, physical kind of thing.
It's subtle, interior.
Exactly. It's in how she listens, how she notices the small things, and maybe most importantly, how she stays open to complex, even uncomfortable truths.
And the analysis builds a strong argument here. King uses Holly to challenge those old genre roles. He's kind of redefining heroism in this context.
Yeah, it suggests heroism here isn't about, like, macho confidence or brute force.
So what is it then?
The material points to her resolve, her empathy, and her ability to act even when she's afraid. Acting despite the fear, not without it. That's where her power is.
That's powerful. Okay, let's talk themes. The analysis suggests Never Flinch dives deep into confronting the really tough parts of human behavior, the parts we don't like to look at.
The unflinching parts, yeah, like pure rage, grief that just overwhelms zealotry that turns destructive.
The thirst for revenge.
All that really challenging stuff.
And what the source finds compelling is how King draws these characters, their motivations, even when they're really disturbing.
They feel real emotionally. It's not just cartoon villains.
Right. Like, the analysis mentions the serial killer's path isn't just being evil. It comes from this really twisted sense of justice.
Mm-hmm. And the threats against Kate McKay, they're shown as being rooted in these deep, real societal divisions about gender, power, belief, things that feel very current.
Which means the book doesn't offer easy answers. The analysis really highlights that. It avoids sorting everything neatly into good and bad. It leans into the gray areas.
Embraces ambiguity, yeah. Makes you ask tough questions. Like who gets to decide what justice really is? When does strong belief curdle into violence? And, you know, when truth feels slippery and memory isn't reliable, how do you even protect yourself? Or anyone?
Wow. Okay. The analysis also brings up this theme of public versus private pain.
Yeah, that's interesting. Both Holly and Kate are dealing with their own inescapable traumas, right? Stuff they carry inside. But they're also both women in the public eye. They're scrutinized, they're threatened. The source emphasizes that their resilience isn't shown as, like, effortless or performative.
It's earned.
It's lived, yeah. Hard-fought, deeply human.
Okay, let's talk about how King actually puts this all together. The craft. The analysis calls his narrative skill here masterful, especially balancing suspense with introspection.
He really knows how to do that. The structure, the analysis points out, is precise. He weaves those two plot lines together so carefully.
Gradually tightening the web.
Exactly. Until they merge, and it feels both surprising and inevitable.
And the writing itself. The prose.
Described as direct, gets right to it, but also layered. You get that classic King tension, that visceral feeling.
Oh, yeah.
But you also get real emotional depth, especially in Holly's sections. Because King knows her so well now, he can give her these moments of quiet reflection, even when things are chaotic.
That makes sense. The analysis also highlights something fascinating about the craft. The perspective shifts.
Right. He doesn't just stay with Holly. We get viewpoints from Izzy Janes, the detective.
And even the antagonists.
Yeah, at times. And the analysis argues this isn't just, you know, a fancy writing technique. It serves a real purpose.
Which is?
It lets you, the reader, step into these different mindsets. You get a feel for the warped logic behind the madness, maybe, or the desperation driving the violence.
So it adds layers.
Makes the story more textured, the source suggests. Maybe strangely more empathetic, even towards the darkness, and definitely more unsettling.
Thinking about how the book connects to, well, now, the analysis says Never Flinch feels incredibly current.
It really does seem to echo things we're seeing all around us. Questions about wrongful convictions.
Online radicalization, definitely.
The kind of harassment public women face.
Yeah.
And just this general sense of trust breaking down in institutions.
Yeah. The analysis notes that the book isn't, like, preachy. It's not hitting you over the head with a message.
No, but it's undeniably political in how it shows fear being used as a weapon. Against people, against communities, against ideals.
And that circles back to Holly, doesn't it? Her refusal to flinch. The analysis frames that as more than just a personality trait.
It's like a quiet act of revolution. Well, she's not just standing up to the killers in the story. The source suggests she's also standing against a culture that often wants victims, or even just truth seekers, to shut up or look away.
So she becomes the symbol of endurance.
Exactly. But not a loud, aggressive kind. A deeply, fundamentally unwavering kind.
Okay, so pulling all this together from the analysis, Never Flinch is way more than just a crime novel.
Oh, absolutely. It's described as this powerful meditation on, like, what it actually takes to stand firm when everything feels like it's shaking apart.
And Holly Gibney, through this evolution we see her quiet strength. She really cements her place as one of King's most enduring and meaningful characters.
Yeah, the analysis really makes that case. She embodies this different kind of power. It's rooted in care, in insight.
And that refusal to look away.
Even from the hardest truths. Yeah.
So the core message, boiling down what we've explored from this analysis today, it's simple but deep. Courage isn't about not being afraid.
It's about never flinching.
Right. Which kind of leaves us, and you listening, with something to think about, drawing on all this. What does it really mean for you to find that kind of unwavering resolve in a world where truth often feels, well, subjective and fair seems like it's always around?